computer. Great. You should get that prompt, of course. Cool. Let's try that. Hello. Could you please introduce yourself?
Hi, my name is Alyssa Serrano. I just graduated from the Middlebury Institute with my master's in international policy and development, and my focus was migration and refugee resettlement.
Wow, that's a lot to talk about. That is I'm going to ask you about that first off. Those are people's lives that are fleeing from something horrible that has probably happened to them, either from a political choice or climate refugees, or they're looking for a better life for their children. How do you fit that in your brain of trying to work in that area?
Yeah, it is a lot. I really got interested in it because to complete my Coverdell Fellowship that I was getting at MISS, I had to do volunteer hours, and so I chose to do it with the International Rescue Committee. And so that was kind of my first introduction into migration and refugee resettlement, and I just fell in love with it. I was doing a lot of direct services with people, and yeah, that kind of led to the evacuation of Afghanistan. IRC was the resettlement agency on the military bases in the US where people were being brought. And so I was sent to a couple of the bases to help with that project. And yeah, just realized that this is exactly what I want to be doing and continuing my work in asylum and refugee resettlement and everything. And now after graduating, I just got a job with another resettlement agency in DC. So I'll be starting as a program officer next week, actually.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
If it's okay, I'll follow up on that just really quickly because that was all in the news, the evacuation from Afghanistan. It was huge news for a month, 6 weeks, all the how people were settling. And you saw some of the people from that region right when they were arriving in the United States. What was it like for you personally to sort of see some of those people it wasn't just a class, it wasn't a lesson, this was real happening for you. And then what did it look like? What were their faces like? What were their experiences like that you heard?
Yeah, I mean, it was heartbreaking. The first base that I was in Texas, and when we arrived, we were the first NGO that was there, and we were the first organization that really had interpreters. And so when we showed up 3 days after people had been there, we were just inundated with questions about what the process was going to be, how long they're going to be there. And day one, we didn't really have answers for them. So it was really hard to try and be there and say that we're going to be helpful and not really have answers for people. But as the weeks went on, just trying our best to explain the whole process. And of course, there are issues in the system and a lot of difficulties that people are going to face, but doing our best to make sure that they just understand what's going to be happening and any questions or difficulties that come up on base that we can solve, making sure that we are doing that for them. So, yeah, I think there was a lot of, stress and frustration with the system and the process, but also a lot of appreciation and gratefulness for the work that we were doing. So, yeah, both sides of it.
One last little bit about that. It's fascinating and so interesting to talk to someone who works in that field. Um, is it difficult to finish your job? Here you go. Here's a new place where you live now, and then sort of hope for the best for the people that you've supported through that process.
Yeah, it was really hard, but it was also really exciting because so I was on the base for 5 months. I saw a base start and close, and watching people go through that whole process and being at the departures where they're getting on the bus to go to the airport, we're all waving at them, wishing them good luck and everything. Yeah, it just felt really good to be able to be a part of that process, even though we know that there's going to be more difficulties for them, just knowing that one of the hardest parts is over and they're going to be getting services and help and hopefully going to where they have family or friends. So just seeing all of that excitement of like the actual beginning of their new life was really cool to be a part of.
Thank you. I know that's not wasn't on our sheet of what we're going to be talking about today. But what a great
No,
experience. I
that's
just wanted to take
okay.
advantage of talking to someone who has worked it because it's, again, fascinating and an important field that we don't really get to look at all of the time what happens on the ground. So thank you for sharing some of your insight into
Yeah,
that.
of
But we are here
course.
today to talk about, you mentioned you've received fellowships, you've done internships, this internship for Jan Black, who was one of so beloved member of the Institute's community. What was your Jan Black internship?
So I was working with Amnesty International USA. So I was working from the DC office. And I worked on a couple of different projects, but the main thing that I was working on was the asylum project. And so Amnesty is made up of a lot of volunteers. And so there's volunteers that are specialists in different regions or countries or kind of themes. And those people are ready to write asylum. How do I say this? When somebody applies for asylum in the US, they need support, letters of support about their country, about whatever they're seeking asylum from. And so Amnesty has a lot of people that are ready to be writing those letters that say, hey, I've been looking and working with people from Iran, or I've been doing research on Iran for 15, 20 years. This person's claim is true to as I know. And so the project was basically just kind of three different parts. So, how to get more people that are volunteering for Amnesty to be writing letters of support. How do we make sure that the training and education for the people writing support is sufficient? And then, how can we create lasting relationships with law firms or universities or other organizations for people or that are working with asylum seekers so that there's not it's more of a lasting relationship and it's an easier process to get those letters, and it's not just a one-off thing. It's like a consistent relationship.
So as you were working and learning about all these different elements of it, did one thing jump out and really fascinate you? Like that's a thing that, wow, I didn't know about that, or I'm really excited about that, or that has sparked my interest.
um I think it was really cool to learn about Amnesty. I didn't realize that a majority of the work that they do is done by volunteers. And I've known a little bit about Amnesty before, but really being in it and learning all of the different groups or the programs or units and everything, that was really cool. And yeah, like we were kind of talking before, I've been working in resettlement for about 2 years. So I was really excited to be like seeing a different part of asylum.
Along that sort of, what would you, if people, like you mentioned, you have an idea of what Amnesty International does, and then you learn more about it. Is that the thing that you would want people to know about it that may just see PSAs or hear it in the news, of what they do on the day-to-day basis? What would you like people to know that they may not know about that organization?
Oh, that's such a good question. Um, yeah, I guess that Amnesty can provide somebody who will write letters of support for people that are seeking asylum, because that's a really important service. Seeking asylum is incredibly difficult in the US, and so having those stories of corroboration is incredible. And yeah, there's like you need to have a lawyer already to be able to receive one of these, so we can't represent you legally, but we can add to your case.
It's that support, and so, and that could be, if you're going through this in your life, I fortunately I can only imagine the day-to-day stress and trauma of like, is this going to work? Am I going to get my family to safety? Um, was there anything unexpected? You must have done research. You knew what you wanted. You went after, you seem, be a person who doesn't just go into something for no reason, but what surprised you?
Um, yeah, I don't know. It was kind of all unexpected. I was working on three different things, and so the first couple of weeks was I was splitting my time between two other projects, and then my boss was like, oh, we finally got this asylum project ready. Here, you take lead. You be the project lead for it. I was like, ah, okay. I don't really have any like knowledge of the asylum program at Amnesty, but that's fine. So yeah, like doing my best to like scan the website and go through the whole drive and make sure that I like knew as much as I could about the program before coming in and saying, okay, this is what we're gonna do from now on. Um, but I mean, I learned the best that way anyways, so I think it worked out really well. And now we were able to get this like strategy document. So we broke it into three different groups where each group has different activities for like those larger goals that I was talking about and facilitating all of those meetings and then keeping up with people, making sure that everything is on track. And yeah, it was actually my last day yesterday. So sending all of that off and just knowing that that's going to continue and hopefully lead to the things that we were hoping.
Following up on that, did your learning at the Institute help in that sort of, here's a thing, now do it? Like, did you find that experience from Monterey was helpful?
Yeah, I think Monterey, a lot of the professors are really good about project-based classes, and some professors also like partner with different organizations or businesses in the community. And so having experience with like, okay, here's a real thing that is going to have real impact. Go work on it. Go do it. Go connect with all of the people that you need to connect with. Go work with classmates or other people. And yeah, I think that that really helped because I already had the background and I wasn't like nervous that something wasn't going to work out because, you know, it probably won't work out the way that you imagined it, but it's going to come to something and there will be results.
I'm going to carry that with me today. I have just a couple of more questions. One of the last ones is thank you so much for taking some time today in your afternoon. It might be siesta time for all I know in Madrid. I don't know. I will read that. How do you expect this professional field experience will support your career goals?
um, I mean, just leading a project, I think was super cool. Um, I will be starting as a program officer at a resettlement agency in DC. And so I'm going to be kind of overseeing different offices. And so I think that having this experience right before I start is going to be really good because I feel like I just did a project and there were results that came out of it and real benefit for, I mean, a lot of the organization and for people seeking asylum. So feeling, yeah, prepared and ready to kind of lead some more things in the realm of resettlement.
My last question is you're reading about, thinking, learning about some of the most horrible things that humans are doing to other humans. And then you see the political struggles of trying to work through the bureaucratic system to help people. You just want to help people get a better life. At the same time, you're seeing the results of the climate crisis and climate refugees and resettlement that may have to come from that. Um, you see suffering, you think about suffering. How do you maintain a hopeful outlook for the future?
I think that's why I really like direct services because especially when we were in on the military bases, we were the first people to start their case. And so in the beginning, when people were like from Afghanistan one day to us the next couple of days, they're telling us their stories of how they got through the gates at the airport, and they're showing us videos and pictures of their family who are in hiding or fleeing or just their whole journeys. And they're just so thankful that somebody is there to listen. And then seeing them every day on the camp and just trying to chat with them and just, I don't know, you're like listening to their whole life and you're part of the like a really big change that's happening and you just build really cool relationships with people that are from the whole other side of the world. And when you are the first person that they want to tell that, oh my God, I finally got my placement. I'm going to Missouri. Like, I don't know anything about it, but I'm so excited. And then you're like Googling things in Missouri and Googling Afghan restaurants for them. And you just get to share really special things and really big, important steps in their life. And yeah, those are things that I just carry and I'll carry for the rest of my life because it was just so beautiful,
Thank
even though it was, yeah, really hard. And yeah.
Yeah, no, it's finding that hope, and that's a lovely way to describe that. Thank you, Alyssa. Really great to meet you. I'm going to stop recording, but we'll just stay on for just a moment to wrap up. Thank you.
Perfect. Yeah. Thanks.